the day, Lord, that you saved my soul, of how you washed away all of my sins and you cleansed and made me whole. Then sometimes, when it seems like it's going to get a little rough, I'm reminded of your word, Lord, that you'll always be there when the going gets tough. You're always there when I need you, Lord. You never fail to stay by my side. That's why I love you, and I'll always praise your holy name. That's why I love you. That's why I love you. That's why I love you, Lord. That's why I love you. You said you'd be with me always, even unto the end of the world. You said you'd never leave me or forsake me, that you'll always be there. You're always there when I need you, Lord. You never fail to stay by my side. And that's why I love you, and I'll always praise your holy name. That's why I love you. That's why I love you, Lord. That's why I love you. That's why I love you, Lord. That's why I love you. That's why I love you, Lord. I do. You're always there. When I need you, Lord, you never fail to stay by my side. That's why I love you, and I'll always praise your holy name. That's why I love you. That's why I love you, Lord. That's why I love you. That's why I love you. That's why I love you, and I'll always praise your holy name.
All right.
That's why
That's us. That's us, the Polk Sisters and Company. Yes, by the grace of God, we are here today. Hi, Reedy.
Hey, sissy, how you doing?
Down there in Louisiana, where it's is it rain? It's raining, right? Or almost?
It's raining off and on, raining off and on.
Okay, so you say Ida's on her way?
Ada is on her way, supposed to make it Saturday.
Okay. And I see here, here's Point of View with Shirley, Cleester, and Eula, YouTube, and it's got our the blame game and familiar versus familial on here. YouTube put it out there before I could get it out
No,
there.
YouTube, hey.
We had but God is so good to us. He is so good to us, and I am so
Amen.
thankful. In spite of everything that's going on, and to me, it seems like the days have slowed down. To me, it does. And I was saying at the theater today, it seems like, it seemed like everything was going just so fast. Now it seems like it's slowing down, but we are here slow or fast by the grace of God. So your topic is?
The blame game.
And mine is familiar versus familial. Familial.
And Eula won't be
Okay.
with us today.
Oh, right. Yes. We miss you, Eula, just in case you have a chance. But
Yes.
she might not get to watch until later on this evening, but we do miss her.
I miss her when she's not on here.
Me too. Shoot, I do too. So we are going to talk about the difference between familial and familiar. And some people get these things mixed up. And there's a younger lady that's a very special acquaintance of mine. She says there's a difference. Some people get it mixed up. There's a difference between familiar and familial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it says, as an adjective, the
Hello.
difference between familial and familiar is that familial is of or pertaining to human family, while familiar is known to one. So just because you're familiar with me doesn't mean that you're familial, okay?
I got
So
you.
familial means family, like
Uh-huh.
bloodline, the whole works, okay? And you
Okay.
know how I am about family, okay? And when you're familiar, that doesn't make you family. You might be an
Booyah.
acquaintance of mine, you might know me, but if you're not familial, that means you're not in the family.
Talk
But you
to
can
him.
be
Hey.
familiar with me. So many times people get those things mixed up. They think or get crossed, the wires crossed, and think they have the privilege of being familial when they're only familiar. And
Talk
that's
to
why
him, big
many
huh?
times, that's why some stuff
You
hits
preaching, girl. You
the
preaching.
fan. Okay.
You
Okay.
preaching.
So I just want people to understand. And these are things that we learn. Like when this young lady said to me, and I don't want to say too much about it because it's messing all over what I got to say a few days from
I
now.
got you. Uh-huh.
Okay. But she said there's a difference, and people get that mixed up. So when they think that when they're familiar, then they think they're familial,
Mm.
and then they say and do things that they don't have any business doing. So they cross a lot of boundary lines. Okay. And so that's where I am about that. Don't cross the line. And I think about this, and I think I've told you about this, Reedy. Just because you're acquainted with someone, some people think that they know you. They're acquainted with you. They're familiar with you, but they're not familial. Okay, but then when they get to know you, some people you don't even have to have said many words to them. But some people will try to insert themselves into your life.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the person that was doing my yard. I mean, the man was doing such a great job. Really, had my yard looking so good because I'm trying to give Michael a break, and trying to give him a break. And so I had the man doing it. So when and I paid him very well, as a matter of fact. But then he started coming when he wasn't supposed to come.
Oh.
And then, I got quite some change out of it, because I will give a person a chance,
Uh-huh.
but when it's time to shut it down, baby, I can't help it. I got to shut it down. But so one day he came and he rang the doorbell, and I answered the doorbell, and he's got his arm over, how you lean up over the door,
Yes. Yes.
and said, I'm broke. I come to cut
Oh.
your yard. I said, no, thank you. I will call you if I need you, you know. And I said, I don't know whether he stayed broke that day, but he didn't get anything out of me. And he won't ever. So just because he was familiar by way of doing the yard,
Uh-huh.
it seems like he tried to insert himself into being a familial status and think that
Hello.
he could say anything to me and
Anything.
just, rested over my door and
Uh-huh.
told me I'm broke.
I'm broke.
I come to cut your yard. But you know what, Rita? I was just about to let the man cut the yard because I was thinking, okay, cut. But when he came and he did that, leaning over my door and telling me I'm broke, I come to cut your yard like I'm his, and yeah,
Yes.
when he
Very broke.
come,
Mm-hmm.
I'd go to the ATM and I would get the money and I'd pay him more than what he had charged
Yes.
me.
Uh-huh.
And so I guess he really thought that I was his ATM. And
Ah!
I said, the audacity. I'm broke. I came to cut your yard. He left that way, that day, broke, if he was, and he hadn't come back. I think I saw him pass by one day looking at the yard.
People always they step across that line
Yes,
and then they wonder why they gotta limp back across the line.
right,
They gonna limp back across it.
right. And then, he did such a wonderful job on the yard. And I said, I'm like Nicholas at time. When I was driving the Thunderbird, Nick and I were up there right off of 35. And so at that mobile station up there, and I think I'd gotten some gas, and McDonald's is right. I don't know, right
Right. Yeah, I
next
know.
to it. Okay. Not McDonald's, Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box, right.
So when I left the station, I went around the station, and I was just getting ready to go across by that back way to McDonald's, and the Spirit said, stop. And I stopped. And the Thunderbird is real low. Okay,
Yes.
it's a cruiser. And so Nicholas came around. I was just like that. I was just about to go off the curb. Down, and the Thunderbird is low. But the Spirit said, stop. And I'm like Nicholas. He said, dang, Granny. because reverse wasn't acting right on the Thunderbird, so he had to push it. He said, dang, Granny.
I've always wanted that Thunderbird.
Baby. Nick asked me if he could have it. I told him, yes, it's yours. It's yours. When Granny's, so it's his inheritance.
I'm like Jennifer now. They cut me quick, ain't Shirley?
Nicholas. Yes. And so that's the way I felt, because I wanted the guy to cut the yard. But then when he said that, I'm saying, like, dang. Can't get, because we've had experiences, and I'm sure you have too, and other people have, where they have, and I'm just talking off the cuff today. Okay, people have had experiences with people, and you think you have established a good business relationship, and then it goes completely out the window. You pay people to do things, and here they come knocking on your door, asking to borrow some money after you just about paid them yesterday or the day before. And here they come asking for money. I ain't rich in money, but I do treat people fairly.
Fairly, right.
And then people take advantage of you if you let them. So being familiar, it could even be on the level of people entering into the family. Some people bring people into, we have acquaintances and we have friends, and just because they know the one that they came in with or came in through doesn't mean that they know everybody and they're familial.
There you go. Hello.
Just because you know them doesn't mean that you know them, you're familiar with them, doesn't mean that you are familial. And people have to learn the difference. People need to learn the difference. Just because you know me or are acquainted with me doesn't mean you know me through and through. Okay. So like that girl said that time, you better recognize. And so that's where so much trouble comes in. And I'm thinking about that time Elder Davis told us these people were in church. And so this lady was up speaking. And so he said that another lady was sitting there next to another lady. And so when the lady got through speaking, she said, I couldn't hardly, I'm going to go a roundabout way because I don't know the exact word, but what she was saying, I couldn't hardly speak because that cross-eyed lady was looking at me. And so, so that lady said, who? My sister? Just because you're familiar doesn't mean you're familial. Okay. All right. So people just don't know. They just don't get it sometimes. Okay. So we have to really be careful. And I am careful as I can be, not perfect, but I try to be careful. I try to make sure that I respect the boundary lines. And I really, really, because I feel like boundary lines should be respected, then I expect everybody else to respect my boundary lines. So just because somebody knows is familiar with you, Cleester, doesn't mean, you know what I'm saying? Listen,
Why I gotta be the
because someone is familiar with you, that doesn't mean that they are familial,
And you
and
know
that
what
they
they
can.
always say? Oh, you know me. Oh, you know me.
God, please.
Yeah, I know you, but I don't know you.
All right, and you don't know me.
That's
Okay.
it.
And so that's what people get mixed up in so many things. They just think just because I've been around them, I've been around this one, I've been around that one. And somebody said to me one time, I haven't forgotten it. I'm not holding a grudge, but you know, God gave us a memory for a reason.
For a reason.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So that person said something to me in reference to one of my sisters, of a suggestion that she made to somebody about my sister. And we were in close quarters. And so had to be in closed quarters together for a while. So I held my peace because you don't want to be uncomfortable.
Right, right.
And surrounded, but I held my peace, but I have never forgotten it.
Yep, yep,
Never
yep.
forgotten it.
I
So
know.
just because you're familiar doesn't mean you're familiar. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
then you can be, oh, I'm not going to go into what I've got to say. But anyway, just
Girl,
people need
don't do
to,
it because you gonna make me mad. There's gonna be some show. It's gonna do that. Y'all see that.
no,
Don't do that.
people need to be careful and
They need to recognize.
just know the difference. Know the difference
My
between.
grandson said you too nice.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, my children tell me that too. They told me that in a time. One time somebody got up and lied on me in the church house. And my children said, Mama, why don't you say something? Mama, why don't you say something? But Sister Donna B. Washington,
Hello.
she put her hand on my leg, said, because I was going to get up and rectify. I wasn't going to physically rectify,
Uh-huh.
but I was going to defend myself because I knew that person was lying on me
Uh-huh.
and being evil, said it in the church house.
Yeah.
And then when I wanted to get up, Sister Washington put her hand on my leg. No. And I obeyed what Sister Washington did. And you know what? She told me not to get up. I didn't get up. And I thank God today that I didn't, because sometimes because of people, we can mess ourselves up with other people and God. And we can embarrass ourselves with other people and God. Okay, now, I was down somewhere here in Dallas one time, and you know about it, so I won't go into too much detail about it. And I was doing something that had been put on me to do and asked of me officially by the United States government. Now you get me?
Of America. Yes. United
Uh-huh.
States of America.
Called me in my home and
Uh-huh.
asked me if I would do something.
Uh-huh.
So when I was taking care of business for that reason,
Uh-huh.
then I got verbally attacked, and someone in the government facility did something that was against the law in order to try to start some trouble.
Uh-huh.
But then because they knew my name, and they knew what my role was, then here comes somebody in there just shouting out my name and shouting out my name. But she didn't know. They didn't know. Okay, just because you're familiar with my name, you don't know me. You're not familiar. Okay? You
Mm-hmm.
don't know me. So, by the grace of God and the Holy Spirit said, no. And I held myself back, and the security guard made sure that I was okay and that though the party was
Uh,
led out of the building.
yes, yes, yes.
Just because you know me and you really weren't acquainted, not that particular person, doesn't mean that just because you're familiar with my name, what
Mm-hmm.
my status is in this mix, doesn't mean that you're familiar. And so
Hello.
that's a dangerous thing, to take it for granted that you're part of this when you're really a bystander. So if you dip over inside something and you're not a part of it and you're a bystander, and sometimes it's not an innocent bystander either, then there's always somebody on the other side that you're not familiar with that might
Mm-hmm.
take care of you and put you
Mm-hmm.
back on the outside where you belong.
Yes, where you
Okay,
belong. That's it.
okay.
That's
So,
it.
Reedy, I'm not going to talk anymore about that.
Okay.
But being familiar means that you're acquainted, and
Yeah.
familiar means family. Okay.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay, Reedy. It's
Yeah.
you, Reedy.
Oh, it's on me now. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I was getting interested. I was thinking everybody that was familiar with me, but you don't know me. You don't know me. You remember that? Oh, you don't know me. Hey, and mine is the blame game.
Okay.
The blame game. Psychology today, my go-to. My go-to is psychology today.
Okay.
Everyone's to blame. No one takes fault.
Right.
But no matter how stubborn you or your spouse is, no one in the blame game is ever a winner. You left the stove on too long and now your meal is burned. On your way to the door, your cat escapes outside and now you be late for work. While you were walking down the street, you slipped on some fallen leaves. The blame game. When misfortunes like this occur, what's the first thought? Do you immediately figure out who was at fault? Resign yourself to accept
You said,
that was under your control.
okay.
No, oh, my phone is going off, but I got it on do not disturb. I don't
Okay.
understand
That's
that.
all right.
Okay, okay, under your control. Okay. Not everyone is equally likely to engage in the blame game, but there is little scientific research to advise us on who is most likely to do so. We can, however, define a dimension of blame acceptance by adopting a few simple principles on the extreme blame side of our social scale. Would people be always find something or someone to blame? You could attribute the burned meal to your partner who doesn't help out around the house, forcing you to multitask and forget the chicken is simmering in the pan. You do not blame the cat for its misbehavior, but you might blame your neighbor who waved hello at just the wrong time. Slipping on the sidewalk as a result of your clumsiness? Of course not. People who swept the leaves on the ground and they knew it was a hazard. That's who's to blame, not you for falling on them and had them slick shoes on. At the other end of the spectrum are people who blame themselves for everything, even if they had nothing to do with any of the unfortunate outcomes. This isn't just false modesty or fishing for reassurance. Some people do believe that they cause bad things all or most of the time. It is also possible to blame fate or higher power, especially when there's no one else who could conceivably have caused the outcome. You certainly wouldn't be able to blame your partner or yourself for the devastating effect of a tree smashing through your roof in a storm, although maybe you blame your partner for not getting the tree cut down. Religious people often attribute such events to a higher power who is either testing their fate or punishing them for their weakness. Related to the study of blame in the social psychology of attributions, blaming yourself for something goes wrong might relate to a general tendency to make so-called internal
Mhm.
attributions for failure, in which you see yourself as inept, foolish, and irresponsible. That tendency might motivate you to attribute your success to external factors such as fate, chance, or luck as well. That is a good point. You put that on. You put it on. I had bad luck, but then you turn around, you put on I had good luck. That's crazy. Like my kid says, cray cray. And and there's always the fundamental attribution error. People excuse themselves for some negative behavior that they blame others for doing.
Mhm.
Another related area of research involves deciding whether someone who commits an immoral act of blame consider what happens if two people each throw a brick off a bridge at a passing car. One person's brick lands harmlessly on the road, but the other person's brick strikes the people in the car, resulting in a serious accident. Theoretically, the person whose brick didn't injure anyone is just as culpable as the one that did.
Right, right.
They both had the same malicious intent. Moral luck is the belief that they should have hold some blame to only if the action causes harm to others, not what the intent was. You would therefore blame the accident causing brick thrower more than the other. No, it's both of them's idea. It's both of them's idea. They both threw a brick. Just
Mhm.
happened that your brick didn't hit. But you both
Mhm.
had the same idea. You
That's
both was
right.
looking to do some homework.
That's right.
Okay, now here we go. Okay, if two people had the same intent, they should be equally blameworthy. People may say that in abstract, intent should matter more than the outcome of a blameworthy action. But the judging actual cases, they're still swayed by the outcome. Here are 5 reasons we play the blame game. Number one, blame is an excellent defense mechanism. That is true. Whether you call it projection, denial, or displacement, blame helps to preserve your self esteem by avoiding awareness of your own flaws and failings.
Mhm.
Blame is a tool we use when we're in attack mode. Falling into the category of a destructive conflict resolution method, blame is a way to try to hurt our partners. This is
Mhm.
true. If you hadn't done that, I wouldn't have done this. If you
Mhm.
hadn't hit me, I wouldn't have shot you. If you
Mhm.
we're not very good, we're not very good. Three is we're not very good at figuring out the cause of other people's
Mhm.
behavior or even our own. The
Mhm.
attributions we make, whether to luck or ability, can be distorted by our tendency to make illogical judgments. And we're just as bad as making judgments involving the blameworthiness of actions in terms of the intent versus outcome. Four, it's easier to blame someone else than to accept responsibility. That is so
Mhm.
true. It's easy to
Mhm.
blame somebody. It really is.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
if you wouldn't have put that rock there, I wouldn't hit it. It wouldn't have never went through the neighbor's window.
Mhm.
It is. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
There's less involved in recognizing your contributions to a bad situation than accepting the fact that you're actually at fault and changing so you don't do it again.
Mhm.
Five is people lie, except for me. I don't lie. Okay, I lie about lying. Okay, I just lied about lying. So I lied about lying. So people lie. Everyone lies. It's pretty easy just to lie and blame someone else, even though you know it's your fault. You may figure that no one will know it was really you who spilled the coffee all over the break room. So you just blame someone else who's not there and hope that person never finds out. I didn't spill that coffee in there. That was Lynn. Lynn is off today. She probably did it yesterday. Y'all just not seeing. I seen it when Lynn walked out that room. She was just lying. Okay, unlike other games, the more often you play the blame game, the more you lose. Learn to
Mhm.
tell when you need to own up to your role in a bad situation would help you grow from your experience and ultimately help you achieve more fulfilling relationships. Hello, thank you, and good
Mhm.
night. That's
That's
it.
it.
That's it.
Oh,
Mine was short and sweet. Mine was short and
thank
sweet.
you. Mine was
Just short
kind
and
of
sweet.
short too, huh?
Yeah, it was short and
Hi,
sweet, but
Yolanda. Thank you so much for being on
that's
here with us.
that
Thank
is fine.
you.
Short and sweet is fine for the way I feel at the end of the line.
Yes, I'm drained myself.
I
So we
am.
we
I am.
we love you, everyone, for joining in with us. And we have, so we said Tuesday. I'm going to repeat it today. Okay, Clay?
Yes, please.
Okay, everyone, we thank you so much. And I haven't gone on and did individual thank yous on my side,
Okay.
but Erica went on to my side and she said thank you. So if you go there, if you haven't seen it, she said thank you, and I'm thanking you too.
And I'm
Uh,
thanking you.
and please thanking you too for your condolences, your love, everything that you're doing. And we will be at Mount Olive Baptist Church's multipurpose center on the 4th of September, which is a Saturday, beginning at 11 a.m. And so we're asking everyone that desires to bring food, flowers, cards, whatever you desire to do to contribute and show your continual love toward our family, Nellie's children, grandchildren, and our family. Uh, you can bring those beginning at 11 a.m. to the Multipurpose Center in Denison, Texas, on South Scullin Avenue at the Mount Olive Baptist Church. And we're not doing dressy dress, okay? Not dressy dress, but we are going to be comfortable. Okay, so is that all I should, is that good?
We didn't. We never gave a given. I don't have an address. Do you have an address that
Yeah, I
people that
think
want
it's
to like send cards?
1131 South Scullin. I believe it's
Okay, because
1131. I'm
people
not
ask me
sure.
whenever I don't know the
Let me,
address.
I think it's 1131.
You got time to look, cause you. I mean,
Oh
look,
yeah, okay.
just look.
Oh, I can look on here. Let's see.
Yeah,
Mount Olive
so I
Baptist
can write it down
Church.
too. Because people
Okay.
keep asking me, and I have no idea.
Oh, wait a minute. I put it on my thing. Let me go back to here to the, is this the Facebook? What is this? The Facebook. There it is. Let me go, because it's in one of my posts. Let me go back, because
Okay.
I put it on there. I think it's 1131. It could be 30 something 31. But let me see. Okay,
Okay.
here we go. Here we go. See more. Okay. 1131 South
Okay.
Scullin, Scullin Avenue, Denison, Texas, 75020. So that's it. I remembered it. Wow. But we,
Yeah,
we
you did.
we
Wonderful.
we certainly thank you. And so we're not going to, as some people say, belabor the time, prolong the time. We want to come on because point of view goes on. Life goes on,
Yes, it
and
does.
we enjoy sharing. And I was telling Clee, and I'm not going to talk a long time, but I was telling her
Okay.
when I did the intro, when I did the prep for point of view today, and then I was scanning through, going through and looking for something online, and saw where YouTube had already announced it, even though we were not on the air, but they announced what our topic is. And I said, wow, we are really, thank the Lord.
Thank
God
you,
is,
Lord. Amen. Uh-huh.
yeah, and so we will be available also on Point of View on Anchor Podcast. And that's audio only. So if you're at home, you're working or whatever, and you're riding down the highway or whatever, you can listen to us, and you won't have to be tempted to watch us. And I see our facial expressions and everything. You can listen to us. So I'm going to do I don't know whether I've done one already, but I know I'm going to do Thursdays. I'm going to upload it today to Point of View on Anchor Podcast. Okay. Point of View with Shirley Pope on Anchor. Okay. So really, any more announcements?
No, that's all I need. I just want to thank everyone for all the calls because we've had a lot of calls, a lot of prayers. I appreciate everything everyone has done
Mm-hmm.
and said because she was definitely a beautiful soul and she will
Mm-hmm.
truly be missed.
And she
Definitely a
is,
beautiful soul.
she's our familial.
Hello, hello.
Okay. So, and I have said this before. I have said it to many people about Denison, especially. And I have acquaintances and, down here and friends down here who are very, very good. But I'm talking about Denison now.
Mm-hmm.
Denison, they get behind the families and they support the families. I don't
Amen.
care if it's back to back.
That's
Denison
right.
comes out and they
Yes,
support the
they support.
families.
Amen.
I
Amen.
remember when Daddy left, and we had so much support. I mean, oh, it was just like
Yes.
overwhelming, but good
Yes. Yes.
overwhelming.
Uh-huh.
And
Yes.
then less than a year later, Mama.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, well, Daddy just left. So, and people have done so much for us when Daddy left. But let me tell you, Denison came out in full force again.
Yes, they did. Yes.
I'm
Yes.
telling you, Denison, Texas will come out, and Denison, Texas does support. And it's
Yes.
not a little town. Denison is a city. Somebody
Yes.
said something one time years ago talking about Denison, what somebody down here that was a familiar person said Denison was a little country town. I said, no, Denison is a city.
The city. That's
So
it. It sure
don't
is.
get it twisted now. Don't
Don't
get
talk
it
about the
twisted.
dinners in Texas. That's right.
Denison will come out and they will support. I have seen it each and every time. Thank you,
Every time.
Denison.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
Denison.
Thank you,
Thank
Dennis.
you,
Amen.
Sherman. Thank you, everybody. Dallas. Dallas is, I'm
Carver.
telling,
Carver. Yes.
Harvard,
Carver.
Oklahoma. Oh,
Yes.
yes, I'm telling
Yes.
you. Thank you so much for everybody. I'm telling
Yes.
you. So
Thank
really, I'm just so drained and
you.
everything.
Drained.
But
I know it. I
uh-huh.
know the
But
feeling.
yeah. So anyway, we talked about the difference in familiar and familial, and Clee talked about the blame game. All right. We love you all. Thank you
Hey, love
so
y'all. Thank you
much
so much.
for joining us. And of course, Eula had some things that she had to do today. So maybe she might be back with us next week, but she has to do what she has to do in order to get where she needs to be.
That's
Okay.
right. That's
All
right.
right, Reedy, I
Amen.
love you, and we will
I
talk
love you.
later.
Okay.
Everybody, I'm not going to even go off with the song. We're just going to close it out. Okay. We love
All
you.
right.
Thank you for being
Love
with
you.
us, Yolanda. Let me see. And let me see if anybody else came on.
Okay.
Yolanda came on.
Hey, Shell.
Look,
Michelle Byers. Hey,
Shell,
Shell.
hi Shell. Yolanda's on. She's on point, honey. She put this address up here.
Did she? All right. Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you.
I'm telling you, she has our
Love
back.
you too, Shell. Love you too.
I
Tell her
love
she
her
love
so much.
us.
Okay,
Tell her
hi
she love
Shell.
us.
Love you too. Okay. Oh. All right, y'all. Thank you
Okay.
so much. We love you all. We'll see you, God willing. I'll see you Sunday morning at 7
Mm-hmm.
a.m. And then we'll see you Tuesday and Thursday by the grace of God. Love you so
Amen.
much. You can always contact us if through
Always.
here, and some of you have our direct numbers, and then you have the banner going across. Okay. Love you all.
All right.
Enjoy
Bye bye.
enjoy the remainder of your day. Love you,
Amen.
Reedy.
Love
Tell
you.
Hurricane Ida to hold it, hold it, hold it.
Oh, keep on strolling through there. Go somewhere
Yes,
else.
yes, yes. All right.
All
Talk
right.
with
Bye
you
bye.
later. Okay.